Good afternoon, everybody. My role in the school is I'm the Senior Dean of Learning, Research and Innovation. But when we came to Schoolbox, we actually we went through this process. We tried out a couple of different LMSs because we had Blackboard. We'd had it for a long, long time, and it was very much underutilised. And was it you, James? Did we have you come out to the school and we did this cruel thing to them? We had two different providers get up and present for half an hour and then have the staff vote. So I don't know if we chose the best one or not, but it is the best one now, absolutely. So it was an interesting process, more about getting the staff buy-in than about getting the best product, although we had selected down to ones that we liked already. Okay, so we didn't have an ICT person in the school. I kind of had to inherit that after a session of long service leave, so that was pretty tricky. But we introduced it, and we went through a process that I think is a bit different to what I've heard from a lot of people. I think we pretty much just dived in the deep end. We got it late 2016, and that was our system 2017, our system for our LMS, but all our reporting. That's how we entered grades and comments. So we actually got rid of the other system, so we had to make it work, which was a bit scary at times, and a lot of time invested in it. But it's paid off, and we've really, by doing it that way, the whole staff had to be on board pretty quickly. We had to work as a team to get it done, and I think it was a very powerful way of going about it. But mind you, there were some tears and late night conversations. So our philosophy, I guess, is that feedback's essential for learning. And for the last few years, before we had Schoolbox, we were starting to do more continuous reporting. It was pretty much just putting out grades. There wasn't much in the way of comments going out on our previous system. But we saw Schoolbox as the tool to really move down this track pretty quickly. So I guess things there, teachers spend a lot of time marking things, writing comments, giving good feedback. What happens to it then? If you write it on the test, does it even make it out the classroom door? Where does it go? Even for the teacher, if they've written on the student's bit of paper, unless they've taken accurate records, that information has gone. So doing this, one thing I sold to the staff was that we do it once, and not only do we do it once, the teacher sees it, the students see it, the parent sees it, and any other member of the school staff. So me in curriculum leadership, if I have tricky questions about a student, I can go in there and see all the feedback that the teachers have given the student. So amazingly powerful to do that. Hands up who is currently doing continuous reporting in some form in a detailed way. So about half the room. Hands up who are dealing primarily with secondary schools. Okay, and a few primary schools as well. Okay, is anyone doing continuous reporting in the primary school? Okay, good. So we found our primary school a little bit slower, so they didn't jump in the deep end. They had class pages and they were just feeding back to parents as a class. But this year they're going to start doing individualised feedback on the students. Okay, our attitudes, grades aren't feedback. Grades don't really tell you how to improve or anything. It just grades have all sorts of problems. And reporting itself is not feedback, as you know, you're really saying that what are we doing with these reports at the end? What is their purpose? So I said we're still having reports, but I've tried to separate it. We call it not continuous reporting, but we call it continuous feedback, and this is about learning. So this is about, right, how to help the learning. Statement at the end is just, it's like your transcript, academic transcript, that's its purpose. It's not no follow-up, no real new information even on that. Okay, so, and we work, of course, all students can learn. We implemented, as I said, pretty much immediately, and we said to the teachers they need to have at least 3 pieces of feedback, detailed feedback per semester, per subject. And that feedback needed to have 3 points. I'll come back to that. We changed the grades. You're able to change the headings on the Schoolbox, so it says grades. I really want to stress the idea of feedback, so I put it in as feedback. Some of the grammar falls apart in places, but that's all right, I'm sticking with it. And we also added something called learning behaviours. We saw the rubrics as a great opportunity to expand on what we had before, as we had these little things, meets deadlines and brings equipment to class and that sort of thing. And we had sort of usually or consistently or rarely, and virtually everyone always put consistently. It was fairly meaningless sort of thing. So what we really want to focus on the learning, so we built these things called learning behaviours rubrics, which we've used in, and I'll talk about that a bit more. Okay, so the main part of the feedback goes through the due work, of course. We're upping it this year to 4 times a semester. This is a minimum, but everything that's going to go on the end of year report or the end of semester report, we say that should be had some detailed feedback. Our semester report does not include subject comments, overall comments, because all the teachers have done that work, giving good feedback throughout the semester. So that's a bit of a trade-off, bit of a fight with some of the parents, but I think we'll win that one. You just got to last that first year, I think, and then you're through and understand your philosophy behind what you're doing. Feedback's written with the student as the audience, because that's the way we'd write on a test or on an assignment. Maybe in the form of, we gave the teachers options. So you can write comments in the comment box, or you could prepare a rubric. And I'm encouraging the teachers, the rubric's a great way, and you can still use the comment, add things to finesse that rubric if you like, or they can write all over the test or the essay or whatever it is, and scan it in and have it stored on there as annotated work. Of course, they could also mark it online as well, and that would be accepted. We're lucky enough to have the guy in a print room who will scan all the work and name the files for us, so it's very easy for the teachers to put it up. But I think not too many do it, but it is a facility that's great. And with the 3 points in the feedback, must include something done well. Okay, so ticking a test, this really, so something like a maths test, doesn't normally necessarily have this. They might just have ticks and crosses, maybe corrections, but go back to, everyone's got to stress something that they're doing well, at least something, something that needs improvement, and some guide as to how to go forward. So, some advice for how to move forward. So stressing those 3 things. I think to get good feedback out of your teachers, you do want to provide some sort of structure to it. Only the grades and the titles to the tasks or the due work pieces go on the semester report. Don't have comments, and we don't have overall grades either. And I've totally convinced myself that overall grades are an evil. And I'm still working on the principal. She nearly went back and retreated, but no, we saved it. I think we've got to get rid of those. Well, they're gone. They were gone last year, and we haven't got them this year. And with the due work, setting that up, ideally, I mean, this is the calendar as you're talking about the diary. I think, sorry, what's your name? Clancy, talking about the shift away from the diary. We've gone without the diary this year, again, to much uproar from staff, parents and students. But when you start doing this, you think, and why would you have a diary? And I mean, I haven't had a diary for years. I've got a diary this year because our book supply gave me one for free, but I just use Outlook. But with this, you set your due work, it's in the student's calendar, parents can see it as well. You just got to get the teacher to set the due date correctly. That's the big hurdle. And but they've got their map. The coordinator can see it. Are there pressure points in the term? That's fantastic. You get to the end of your lesson, you want the students to do something incidental. It's not really an assessment task. Have a task component on your page, enter the work there, It's not, did the kid manage to get it down before running out of the classroom? Did they transcribe it correctly? They've all got identical instructions in their calendars. It's all there for them. They want to add their own notes, a reminder to themselves. They can add tasks to their own calendar. Okay, so you've really covered all bases there for their diary. And once you put the pastoral notes in there as well, you're done. I think, I guess their birthdays and things. I suppose they can add those as events. Okay, so, in student calendar, I think we covered all that. So I mentioned learning behaviours rubrics. Really wanted to make this about encouraging learning. As you can see, I'm not a big fan on grades. I want to really make it all about learning. So we set up this rubric where we try to just describe things. There's 6 of them. I'll bring up the others in a moment. But the first one there is time management. There's connection and engagement, and response to feedback to advance her learning. So the first 3 there. Rather than everyone putting the highest, clicking down the high one, I put one there that's called leading learning, which is an aspirational one. So only a few people get that. It's supposed to be more like the A+, that is somewhere to stretch to. Whereas most people who are doing pretty well would go in self-managing category there. And then they're struggling a bit, maybe managing with assistance, and then not yet managing. So the implication there is that it's not that they're hopeless, it's just that they're not quite there yet, and they need a bit more guidance. But having the rubric, as with all rubrics, it doesn't just mark them, it shows them what we're looking for, what we're trying to do. So just giving the rubric actually provides some advice as well. So the other things we had there were effective collaboration with other students, perseverance with tasks and challenges, and attention to learning goals, including being ready to learn. Some of those are a bit almost double bangers, but I thought going beyond 6 was a bit much. We do this second last week of term every term for every subject. So they get that, and then we compile that information on the semester report again. We're lucky, we've got a guy at school who did all the building the reports externally. When we thought about going through Synergetic, and this all wasn't going to work that way. So it seems, he did that very effectively, I think. All right, so that's pretty much what I had to say. Any questions? Yeah.
I have one for you. Any of the departments or using courses to sort of pre-build this stuff to quickly deploy? I saw a lot of use of like task component and due work, but is that getting populated from sort of courses?
So due work certainly is from courses. Well, when the teacher knows what they're doing, it's from courses. So that's what we encourage. And yes, at the moment they're sort of been importing and finding all things from last year. So yeah, using the course I think is the way to go, and you can edit from there as next year comes around. And getting that right, I noticed improvements that with the due dates and being able to set those all up. That's fabulous the way that's evolved. And but setting it up as a course, and we only have 4 or 5 classes. Some schools will have a lot more. You really want to do it that way and get it right at the start. And think about it first, then export, rather than export and then tidy up later. So we've gone through a process this year, now that we know what we're doing, because we were making it all up as we ran along last year in desperation. But this year I've actually given people some paper. They've planned out, using a guide for how to write the assessment title, because that's going on the final report. Open and close dates for the units, because gee, they can get confused with what all these things mean. And as my daughter said, how can teachers not understand what a due date is? So I just go back to the teachers and say, look, you've got to think about this from the student and parent's point of view, right? For them, there is no work due on the 24th of December or whatever. It's just, and look in the calendar, look and see what it looks like to the student. Go into a student's name and look at their calendar and see what it looks like. And you see, oh gee, every assessment, that subject's due on the one day. Really? Are you serious? So how useful can that be? But yeah, just that planning in advance for the year is hopefully going to make this year a lot smoother and a lot more useful for students and parents. James?
Do you plan, you asked a question before about the self-reflection, do you see these being used with self-reflection as well?
Yes, yeah. In fact, I know last year our science teachers they just did the rubric twice.
Yep.
I think. Oh no, what they do? Maybe they did it on paper and then did this. So they were getting the students to do their rubrics for their academic assessment. But yeah, we could potentially do it with this as well. But we do with the learning behaviours. We have a learning behaviours course, so that's a separate course which I set up, and then every single class imports that course onto their class page. So they end up with two course outlines on their class pages, and so that works pretty neatly. Some people ended up last year with about close to 10 course outlines on the class page, so another reason for planning the start of the year and getting that right, and then you don't have to do with any more importing during the year and getting a crazy page.
There's a new feature coming out for version 18 that will allow force pushing due work from a course. So if you want to override an activity inside a class, you'll be able to push it to all classes and force the override.
And I could force out learning behaviours to the whole school?
No, so say they'd all imported learning behaviours to all the classes and you found you had a mistake in that rubric, you'd be able to correct it and push it out to all classes again.
Oh.
That wouldn't affect any of their dates or anything like that?
No, you'll have to wait till the webinar, but it knows their dates and keeps their dates the same.
Ross, the learning behaviours graded. I noticed there's a number associated with the level.
Yeah, they're not graded. The number is a reference for us. So I don't know if we need to display it there, but we had the number there so that when we've re-entered this text into our report so that that's readable
so
on the
they
report.
get a grade for their assessment task, and then they get, I guess, a picture of how they learnt as a learner, and they're talked about together.
They get a list of grades for their tasks, and they're in due date order. So another reason to get those due dates right, so you can see the progress through the semester. And then they get a little table which has, say, for semester 1 report, they'll have the term 1 learning behaviour and the term 2 side by side. And it's just reported actually as the top line. And then we have a static page which has the full rubric so that they can reference that. All right.
Thanks, Ross. Thanks
All
so
right.
much.